Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to write this on your heart. You were not created to be common. You were created to be valuable. But here's the truth they don't teach in school: availability lowers value. Now, before you tune me out, hear me out. Look at diamonds, look at gold. Look at the rarest elements on the planet. What do they all have in common? Scarcity. You don't see diamonds scattered across your driveway. Why? Because their absence makes them valuable. So why do you think constantly being available to everyone will raise your worth? You need to stop saying yes to people who haven't invested in you. Stop giving your energy to those who only withdraw but never deposit. That's not loyalty, that's poverty. People who are always saying yes end up bankrupt. Emotionally, financially, spiritually, they run dry. Why? Because they gave away value without ever knowing it was value. Let me teach you something I learned from years in business, from years of studying wealth, and from years in the Word of God. When you increase your skill, you increase your worth. But when you increase your worth and make yourself too available, you decrease your respect. Say it with me: I will be valuable, not available to everyone. Now listen, I'm not saying be arrogant. I'm not saying ignore people. I'm not saying isolate yourself. I'm saying elevate your standards. Raise your self-respect. Build mastery in your gift. Refine your expertise. Walk with posture. Show up like you know you belong in the room. Because God didn't create you for leftovers. See, too many people out here trying to be liked. But like doesn't mean paid. Like doesn't mean legacy. Like doesn't mean leadership. Stop trying to be liked and start becoming valued. People pay for what they respect. Let's look at your time. Who's got access to your calendar? Who's got your energy? Some of you are giving $1,000,000 time to people who won't even invest $1 in your vision. You keep wondering why you're stuck. It's because you're spending all your time trying to be available when you should be focused on becoming valuable. You're not rejecting people when you say no. You're respecting your purpose. Boundaries are not selfish. Boundaries are strategy. The best brands in the world don't put themselves on every shelf. Why? Because exclusivity builds demand. If you want to grow in life, grow in business, grow in spirit, you must protect your peace, protect your purpose, protect your presence, because your presence should be an investment, not a convenience. Here's the final point I want to leave you with. You are either becoming the access or the asset. People who are access, they show up, they give, they leave empty. People who are assets, they build, they create, they multiply. And they never need to chase opportunities, opportunities chase them. So stop being everyone's emergency exit. Stop showing up for people who disappear when you need them. Stop giving the best of you to people who don't even value you. Be valuable, not available for everyone. Scarcity is one of the most powerful forces in economics and in life. The less something is available, the more people want it. That's not just true for diamonds, gold, or rare art. It's true for you. The more accessible you make yourself to everyone, the more they subconsciously devalue you. Why? Because in the human mind, common equals cheap. When people feel they can have you anytime, they won't respect your time, your boundaries, or your energy. This isn't about being arrogant. It's about understanding how value is perceived. Think about the difference between tap water and bottled spring water. Tap water is always there, always running, always ready. And because of that, most people take it for granted. But bottled water, it's branded, packaged, and priced. And people willingly pay for it. Not necessarily because it tastes better, but because it's positioned as valuable. Scarcity creates distinction. Scarcity creates curiosity. And most importantly, scarcity creates demand. If you're always answering every phone call, showing up to every event, saying yes to every request, what message are you sending? You're saying your time doesn't need protection. You're telling the world you don't value your own energy, and if you don't value it, why should they? See, The people who truly value themselves are the ones who limit who can reach them. They don't give the world full access to their time. They build gates, not walls. But still, those gates only open for purpose-driven opportunities. Let's take this to a spiritual level. Even in Scripture, God doesn't allow everyone the same level of access. There's the outer court, the inner court, and then the Holy of Holies. Not everyone can go there. Why? Because access without preparation leads to disrespect. You've got to protect the sacred. You are sacred. Your time is sacred. Your calling is sacred. And if you want people to treat it that way, you must stop giving it out like free samples. This is where many people struggle. They confuse kindness with availability. But being kind doesn't mean being constantly accessible. You can love people and still say no. You can be generous and still guard your energy. You can be present for others without being a prisoner to their every demand. Because here's the truth. If you're always available, you'll eventually be empty. The goal is not to disappear. The goal is to discern, to become so focused on your growth, your purpose, and your assignment that you naturally begin to filter your time through the lens of value. Remember, diamonds are valuable not because they shine, but because they're rare. So stop dimming your shine by showing up in every room. Start becoming scarce by design, because that's when the world begins to realize just how valuable you really are. People don't pay for what's always there. They pay for what they respect. And respect is not demanded. It's earned through how you present yourself, how you carry your worth, and how you enforce your boundaries. If you're always available, always accommodating, always saying yes, people will assume you're not valuable, just convenient. And let me tell you something, convenience gets used, but value gets compensated. When you invest in yourself, your skill set, your mindset, your identity, you shift from being an option to becoming a necessity. That's the difference between someone who's tolerated and someone who's paid attention to. Too many people want higher income, more respect, deeper influence, but they're still walking around like their presence is a favor to others, not an asset. You don't become valuable just by being nice or available. You become valuable when you build something within you that can't be ignored. Have you ever noticed how people treat professionals who have mastered their craft? You don't book a top-tier doctor, coach, speaker, or consultant on short notice. Why? Because they're not just showing up. They're solving problems. They've developed value. Their calendar has weight. Their time has authority. They've built something that people are willing to wait for and pay for. Now, let me flip this on you. What are you doing right now to create that kind of respect around your name? Because until you start investing in your growth, you'll always be treated like a discount version of your potential. People pay for what they respect, and respect comes from the work you put in when no one is watching. The quiet hours you spend developing your voice. The discipline you show when everyone else is distracted. The depth of thought you bring to the table, not just noise. That's where value is built. The truth is, people don't just pay for products. They pay for confidence. They pay for certainty. When you walk into a room and you know who you are, what you bring, and how you solve problems, people respond to that energy. You don't need to chase clients, followers, or approval. Your value speaks louder than your volume. The mistake most people make is thinking availability builds relationships. But in business and in life, credibility builds relationships. Credibility is rooted in results, and results come from mastery. You can't master your craft if you're constantly accessible to distractions. You can't protect your value if you're constantly giving it away for free. Do people see you as a solution or as a substitute? Are you the person they invest in, or the person they call when they're bored? If you want respect, carry yourself with intention. Walk like your time is worth something. Talk like your presence matters. And stop being available to people who never saw the value in you before you started seeing it in yourself. One of the most dangerous traps you can fall into is trying to be popular instead of purposeful. Popularity is about pleasing the masses. Purpose is about fulfilling your mission, and the two don't always walk the same path. You have to decide early. Do you want the applause of the crowd or the respect of your calling? Because when you spend your life trying to be liked by everyone, you end up being owned by their opinions. But when you live by purpose, you become anchored, not tossed by every wave of approval or criticism. You weren't designed to fit in. You were designed to stand out. But here's the catch. Standing out requires focus, and focus demands that you stop trying to accommodate everyone's expectations. Trying to be everything to everyone is a fast track to burnout and irrelevance. Because when you dilute your identity to gain acceptance, you lose the power that makes you unique. Purpose is narrow, it's precise, and it requires intentional living, not random attention. Let's look at it through the lens of business. The most successful brands in the world are not trying to appeal to everyone. Apple doesn't lower its prices to chase popularity. Tesla doesn't beg people to like them. They focus on innovation. Why? Because they are purpose-driven, not approval-driven. And as a result, people don't just buy from them. They believe in them. That's what happens when you operate from purpose. You attract loyalty, not just attention. The same principle applies to your life. When you build your decisions, your habits, and your circle around purpose, you begin to attract the right people and repel the wrong ones. And that's not a loss. It's a refinement. Some of you are afraid to offend people who were never assigned to your destiny. But the truth is, not everyone deserves access to your energy, and that's okay. Purpose requires pruning. You can't take everyone with you. You can't carry everyone's opinion. You can't wait for everyone to approve what God has already confirmed. So, stop performing for the crowd and start producing from your calling. Purpose doesn't seek to be seen. It seeks to serve. It's not about how many people are watching. It's about what you're building when no one is. And when you stay faithful to that, the right people will find you, the right doors will open, the right opportunities will align, not because you chased them, but because you were rooted in purpose. Being valuable doesn't mean being liked by everyone. It means being aligned with the reason you were created. It means doing the hard work of becoming excellent, even when no one is clapping. Because when your life is built on purpose, you won't need to beg for attention. Your results will speak louder than your reach. Boundaries are not walls that keep people out. They are gates that protect what matters most. The most valuable people in the world are not always the most talented, but they are the most intentional. They know how to guard their time, their energy, and their focus like gold. Why? Because they understand that saying yes to everything means saying no to excellence. If you want to be valuable, you must learn the power of strategic boundary. Think of your life like a garden. You don't let just anyone walk through it with dirty boots. You don't allow people to trample over what you've carefully planted. And you certainly don't leave it unguarded overnight. That's how weeds grow. That's how thieves slip in. That's how good things die. In the same way, your mind, your vision, and your purpose need protection. Boundaries are how you preserve your potential. Too many people fear setting limits because they're afraid of being seen as difficult, selfish, or distant. But the truth is, the only people who get offended by your boundaries are the ones who benefited from you not having any. When you draw the line, you're not being rude. You're being responsible. You're taking ownership of your future. You're telling the world, I respect myself enough to not be everywhere, doing everything for everyone. High performers, elite leaders, and successful entrepreneurs understand this at the core. They do not make themselves endlessly available. Their calendars are protected. Their mornings are sacred. Their energy is guarded. Why? Because they know that without boundaries, burnout is inevitable. And when you're burnt out, you can't serve anyone, not your family, your business, or your calling. Boundaries also create anticipation and demand. Think about it. The things that are most rare are often the most pursued. You don't find the most expensive restaurants open 24/7. You don't see top-tier consultants taking every client. You don't watch billionaires answering every email themselves. Why? Because they understand that access should match value. If you're too available, you send a message that your time isn't worth much. But when you protect your availability, you elevate your authority. Let's bring it down to a personal level. Every time you say yes to something that isn't aligned with your purpose, you say no to your future. Every time you overextend, overcommit, or overexplain, you give away a piece of your power. Boundaries aren't about being harsh. They are about being healthy. They keep you from being drained by distractions and derailed by detours. When you operate with boundaries, you train others how to treat you. You set the standard. You teach them that your time is not cheap, your energy is not infinite, and your value is not negotiable. And that's when you stop being taken for granted and start being taken seriously. There is a massive difference between being the access and being the asset. Access means you're always there ready, available, present, but often undervalued. Asset means you've developed so much value that your presence isn't just noticed, it's needed. The access gets used, the asset gets invested in. If you want to change the trajectory of your life, your business, and your influence, you must stop being someone people can just reach and start becoming someone people reach for because of the value you bring. Too many people live their lives showing up out of obligation, not out of purpose. They keep giving without growing. They keep helping without healing. They show up for everybody else, but don't develop themselves. And as a result, they remain available but not valuable. You have to flip the script. You have to become intentional about building something inside you that produces fruit. Because assets produce. They generate. They multiply. They solve problems, and they don't need to beg to be seen because the value they carry makes them visible. If you want to become an asset, start by investing in yourself like a business. Upgrade your thinking, sharpen your skills, improve your communication, develop your character. Your ability to become valuable begins with the level of attention you give to your own growth. People don't invest in people because they're nice. They invest because that person delivers results. That's what separates someone who's replaceable from someone who is irreplaceable. Now hear me. You're not becoming an asset just to make money. You're becoming an asset because you understand that impact is more important than impressions. When you become someone who can shift a room with your words, change a business with your ideas, heal hearts with your presence, or solve problems with your expertise, you no longer chase opportunity. Opportunity chases you. You don't need to market yourself constantly because your work will become your marketing. Being an asset also means you understand your presence has weight. You walk into spaces knowing that your time is not casual. It's costly. That your insight is not average. It's earned. That your ability to create value didn't come from chance. It came from years of quiet discipline, silent sacrifices, and showing up when no one else did. You've gone through too much, learned too much, and grown too much to let people treat you like you're optional. This mindset shift, going from access to asset, changes everything. You'll stop entertaining shallow conversations. You'll stop overgiving to people who underappreciate. You'll start managing your time like it's treasure, not trash. And most importantly, you'll begin to attract people, partners, and platforms that see you for who you've truly become. Not someone who's always available, but someone who's deeply valuable. Assets don't need to prove, they just need to produce. And when you become an asset, your life, your voice, and your vision will carry compound value that multiplies over time. To wrap it all up, Remember this. Being valuable means you set the terms, not the other way around. When you stop being available for everyone and start becoming valuable to the right people, you transform how the world sees you, and more importantly, how you see yourself. Value isn't about quantity, it's about quality. It's about focus, purpose, and protecting what God has placed inside you. So protect your time, build your expertise, set boundaries, and carry yourself with confidence. Because when you do, you won't have to chase opportunities. They'll come running to you. Be valuable, not available for everyone, and watch how your life and legacy change forever.